So it was my 50th birthday earlier this week, so happy birthday to me. And it's been a great celebratory week with family and friends, and there's been a lot of good stuff going on, so thank you for all that. And I was trying to think of a funny bit to do here that I could tie into 50, but I really couldn't come up with anything. So all I really want for my 50th birthday is for my joints to stop hurting so much, for a few decent movies to come out, and maybe for the Mets to win another baseball game sometime this year. I know I'm probably asking for too much. Welcome back, my friends, to the Out Yonder. Magic Mike, as always, here, your host. We are on location today. We have something mysterious behind us we'll get into in a little while. But first, let me introduce our guest. We have a tremendous guest this week. He's a graphic designer, artist, and creator of the Infinity Boxes, Mr. Matt Elson. Matt, how you doing today?
Hey there. Doing well, Mike.
Thanks for inviting us on, man. This is going to be cool. We're going to talk about some cool stuff that you are involved in, and it's wild. I'm very impressed by your work, and we'll get into it in a minute. But you, like me, are a new relocator out here to the desert from LA. You've been only out here a few months.
Yeah.
How you digging it?
They're liking it.
Yeah.
Been here 3 months, almost to the day. And so we're still getting settled, but getting everything set up. And we're acclimating and starting to find our people out here, and lots of visitors from LA coming out to help out on the project and just visit. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I found that way too. Like, even though we're out of LA now, we're in this new environment, and it is different out here than LA. There are enough of us around that you can find pockets of your people, and you just surround yourself with good people and good friends, and it all comes together. And you know, LA is still a stone's throw away. When
Exactly, and it's really funny because since we're so close to Joshua Tree in Palm Springs, right in the middle.
Right.
We get more visitors here than we did in LA.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to come by and either go to the hot springs, or go to Joshua Tree, or go somewhere.
Yeah.
Going to a music festival. It's perfect.
I know, it's the same thing. Like, when I first moved out here from New York to LA, it was always like, my friends always like, oh, we're not going to see you. It's like, we were only seeing each other 2, 3, 4 times a year anyway. So I come in to visit family. I'm going to see you just about the same amount. It's just going to be more intensive and more. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
sun sneezes.
Sun sneezes, dust. We got all this stuff going on.
I get sun sneezes. There should be a third one coming here. They usually come in threes.
Right. That's all good. So, your background is you're originally from California.
Yeah.
Northern California. So
Yeah.
you've got, this is definitely a change in pace here from San Francisco.
That's number 3.
Awesome. We got it out of the way.
Feel better now.
And then, so your background is in computers and graphic design. So why don't you give me a little bit of that? Tell me where your background is.
Well, I'm getting old, so I got into computer graphics in 1982, just as I was getting out of college.
That is like really the beginnings of computer. That's like really like.
It was kind of the end of the first wave. There was actually a generation before that was real pioneers in the very late 60s and early 70s. And then a friend of mine got a scholarship at NYU to research some computer graphics. And so that hooked me. And we went to a conference, I remember, on Central Park South.
Cool. At
the Essex House. And I just saw all this brilliance, these brilliant mathematicians and physicists and people at Robert Abel and Associates and Bo Gehring, and I just thought, that's the future, that's the life for me. And so that's where I went. I went to the New York Institute of Technology for graduate school, and then I went to work for a company called Symbolics, which was a group that evolved out of the MIT Artificial Intelligence Lab.
Wow.
And so I was the artist for the group, the 35 people in the graphics division, for like 9-10 years, and got to direct special projects there. And then eventually I went to DreamWorks when they started.
Wow.
And was the artistic liaison for the house for the animation side. Was there for a few years helping them put the studio together, and then did some freelance stuff, and then went to to Disney, and was with Disney for 5 years, helping them shift the studio from 2D animation to 3D animation, and then did some more freelance stuff, and was animation manager on Benjamin Buttons, the Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons, and that was great. And then I was really tired of it because I got into computer graphics because I thought it was the greatest revolution, the greatest development in the history of visual communications in all of humanity. I mean, really, it just changes everything. But it became so institutionalized. It wasn't about the creative freedom that I was looking for. It was about the institutionalization of it. So I went back to making fine art, and then after 5 or 6 years, I, through various changes, I was painting for a few years, and then started making the infinity boxes, and that was 6 years ago.
So that's 6 years. So talk to us a little bit about the infinity boxes. Now, first, you were doing some fun. So you were painting, so you really weren't incorporating your computer background into your art right away.
I completely went away from it. I was traveling around North America and skiing and mountaineering and painting for 5 years because I wanted to kind of move out of the computer. I'd spent all these 22 years in small dark rooms. It was kind of like, is this Zurich or is this LA or is this New York? Where it didn't matter. It was all small dark rooms, and because I was completely digital by 1985.
Wow. Yeah, in 1985, I was taking the computer class in high school, and we took the whole semester to just make one of those big banners of your name. Like your big M was all little M's, type M's. It took us 6 months just for me to write Mike on the big banner. Yeah. That was what I was doing in 1985 with computers.
Well, I was one of the very lucky, very few people on the planet that had access. I mean, my first computer graphics system was $375,000 for me to sit down at. And I had 2 of them in the office because I was working for Symbolics. So that was great. I mean, I was working with these genius people, and every day was about inventing the future, inventing this technology. And I really loved that. But anyhow, so I went back to painting, and it was literally like taking rocks from certain mountains and grinding those into pigment and using those as the paint that was going back on the canvas.
That's really really tribal. That's really cool.
It was a real throwback to the 16th century and kind of working with all these traditional. But actually, because I was skiing and you're in 5 degrees blowing snow with a 60-degree angle on the mountainside and you're skiing, it's like you're not going to sketch out there. So I'd use a camera, a small digital camera, and I'd photograph the environment, and then I'd take those photographs and I'd make my composition up, and then I'd print that on canvas, and then I'd do the painting on top of that.
That is awesome.
So it was like weaving together current and old technologies. And then, so that was like 5 years of that, and it never went anywhere. So I wasn't making any money. I ended in divorce. It was a disaster.
I know about those things.
Yeah, it was just awful. And so I spent a couple of years just in my studio, and then I bought a framing store, and I started going to Burning Man in 2007.
How was your first experience at Burning Man?
It was great. I was in the midst of the divorce, and so it was really painful, but it was also very liberating.
Right.
And there was this, you could feel all the passion that people had for making art, and so there was a real desire to participate. Right. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. At first I got there and I was so excited by the whole environment and
the creative vibe
and just the openness and the community of people, and you want to participate but you don't quite know how you fit in and what do you contribute and all that kind of thing. So for a couple of years I took photographs of people, and it was really kind of getting a sense of the community and being a bit of a tourist, I guess. And then I got deeper into it and really started to bond with people. And then I was photographing that I call that the community series. So there's like 500 portraits of people that I did.
Wow.
Where I'd photograph them, but then it's also the painterly aspect on the computer again of bringing in elements that try and amplify something of them and the time and the place and all that kind of thing.
That's really cool.
And so then I changed camps and met different groups and sort of evolved. And in 2011, we started Fractal Nation. And Fractal Nation was a great experience. And there were 70 different psychedelic artists from around the world that came together to form this camp, and plus this whole music thing. The Envision Festival evolved out of that. There's all kinds of things that evolved out of that. And so the first year there, I was showing some of these community portraits, and there was a guy from France, Manu Kaleido, who came over with this big, it was shaped like a fish, and inside was this frustrum of mirror. And the frustrum is like, imagine the pyramids of Egypt, but they chop off the top, and then you have the flat bottom, and you turn that on its side, and it's all made of mirrors. So it's what a camera sees, right? But it's all mirror inside, and so by having it open at the back, they could put their hand through or something and do a performance. And it was big. It was like a performance for like 20 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
That's pretty cool.
And so it got me thinking about light and reflection and the eye and what's going on. And at that point, I owned an art framing store. And so one day I walked in, and I took 2 pieces of mirror and I put them back to back, and walked up to my master framer, and I put it between us. And so the mirrors are facing out, and your eye sees up to the mirror, and then it sees the reflection, but your brain interprets it as the continuation.
Wow.
Right? So
your eye actually kind of like bends around. It actually would do this.
Well, no, because you're seeing this and then that,
right,
instead of seeing the field, right? Because if you close one eye, or you open one eye, you're seeing like,
right,
not 180, but you're seeing like 150, 160 degrees of view. But when you put the mirror there, you're seeing half that, and then you see the reflection.
Wow.
So your brain wants to interpret it and make sense of it, but it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And we just started laughing.
So that
was it. Yeah. It was just crazy. We just started laughing, and so I thought, well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you're laughing, that's good. And so I started building a whole piece of that and a way to support it, and had to kind of figure it out of how to support it. So anyhow, the first time I took it out, people were gathered around it all evening.
Now, was this an infinity box? The first time you brought it out was an.
Well, kind of. It was a board with a frame on the end,
okay,
and I jerry rigged it so the mirrors stood up, and there were some mirrors. It didn't even have a housing on it, and yeah. So, but it's a creative community, and people are just like, oh wow, sure, cool, why not?
Yeah.
And so I started taking it out, and every time I took it out, I thought, okay, this is going to get absorbed and digested and spit out really fast, because we're in a culture that, we tell ourselves we're all about immediacy and speed and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But what happened was, every time I took it out, if people had seen it, they brought their friends over to see it.
That's cool.
And then if they hadn't seen it, then they were interested, and then they brought their friends over to see it.
Yeah.
So, and then every time I took it out, it got invited somewhere.
That's awesome.
So it was like, this is cool.
Yeah. Anytime you can get like a little word of mouth thing going on in LA and build on that, you're onto something.
Yeah.
You're doing something good, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
And so I just kept building and building and figuring out more about the housing and how to do it. And I wanted it, the goal was to make these beautiful things. So from across the room, they were really beautiful and intriguing. You wanted
right,
to go see them. But the closer you got, the stranger they got, and the less comprehensible they got. And then when you crossed the line, their sort of event horizon of the box, then it like shifted your reality entirely. Awesome. So that, over the course of 5 years, turned into 14 different boxes, and it turned into 28 reproductions that have gone out to from California to Cairo. I've got a collector in Florence, Italy. I've got one in Cairo. I've got people in London.
And they all kind of do different things, right? Like your first one was just like one person, but then they've kind of become interactive over time as well, right?
The first box was for 2. They've always been for 2 people.
Okay.
They're about social connection, right, and human perception. So sometimes I'll give each eye something different to see, like that first one.
Right.
But they're almost always about the connective.
That's awesome.
And sometimes they're for 3. I've got one for 4. And so I want this shared experience, because that's kind of what we crave. We're social animals, right? So I want to make things that are humanly connective, and playful. So yeah, that's where that's at. And in January 2017, I did a show for the Magicians in New York, The Magicians is a TV show on Sci-Fi.
On Sci-Fi.
Right? So they invited me, and they had this 20,000 square foot installation in Williamsburg. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
All activations, room after room after room, and they had 3 of the Infinity boxes there to, like, give people a visual experience. And so some friends brought some friends, which was great.
Yeah.
And turns out this guy showed up, and he was like super excited about them.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. And that happens, fairly frequently. And I'm like, well, that's really nice. No, we've really got to talk. Okay, sure, that's great. And then he really followed up, which is the sign that something's really going on.
Right.
And turns out he's the art director for Area 15, which is this new 22-acre installation going in Las Vegas that'll open at the end of 2019.
That's awesome.
So they've commissioned the first Infinity ship, this big pink thing back here.
That is what this hulking pink container is behind us. We've been setting it up. This has been foreshadowing us the whole show. This is what's going on. So this is your first walk-through Infinity box, for lack of better terminology.
I did a test on number 9. Okay. Number 9 is a walk-in Infinity box, but it was, it was janky. I'm glad I did it. It's a test, and it was full body experience. This is going to be the real thing.
This is awesome.
So I had a custom container fabricated. It's got double doors at both ends, so we can easily get work in. We're not boxed in in it. So the boards you see standing there are for the installation of the ceiling. It just arrived on the property less than 48 hours ago, so the ceiling started going in yesterday. The ceiling tiles are drying overnight, and then those are going to come down in a few minutes, and then the next layer on the other side will go up, and then the floor and the walls, and everything starts going in now.
And in just a few short months, you're going to be showcasing this, premiering it, test running it at Burning Man this year, correct?
Yeah. So I'll take it. It'll be the prototype.
Right.
So a lot of it will be temp instead of stainless steel and wood and various things like that. It'll be gator foam and mylar mirrors and more easily manipulated materials, because I want to make sure that all of the sizings are right and that the angles are right and everything. So I'm going to build it as a temp, and then I'll build it for real. So I have it. Area 15 will open in the 4th quarter of 2019, so that gives me about a year and a quarter to finish it out.
Cool.
So then it's going to be,
that'll be perfect, because you'll take it out to Burning Man. You get a sense of what people are. You get feedback, and then you can perfect it. And that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So we're gonna follow you along with this thing as you go along and start to put this thing together. And
I love that.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with things, because we've been running some pictures of the Infinity boxes sort of thing. You got to see what this guy's up to, because he's amazing. And if you sometimes you're in LA, sometimes you get to New York at all, because I got a lot of people. I'm from New York, so I get a lot of people from New York watch this thing. You ever get any Infinity boxes in New York?
Not that often.
All right.
I would love to do a show in New York.
Yeah.
Come on, New York.
Come on, New York.
Come on, New York. I was 12 years a New Yorker. I would love to bring the boxes back
so
to New York.
Watching, and I have plenty of people in New York watching.
Yeah.
Get on this guy.
And
you have your website, mattelson.com. You're on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So check out his stuff. I'll keep you in tune. We'll be checking back with you a couple of times as the progress is going. We want to see what's going on, talk to you, tell us about the process, because this is amazing stuff. And this has been amazing. Thank you for inviting us on. I'm looking forward to being back again and checking in on this thing. And you should be too. Pay attention. Follow his websites. Follow what he's doing. Check in on his stuff. And as usual, if you want to be a guest on the Out Yonder, or if you want to email me, contact me for whatever reason, it is toywmm@gmail.com. That's the initials to the Out Yonder with Magic Mike at gmail.com.
Once more slowly.
A little slower. Yeah, I'm wrapping it up. TOYWMM.
Thank you. I got it now.
gmail.com. And that is the initials.
You still talk like a New Yorker.
I still talk like a New Yorker. Sometimes I get excited and it just comes out of me. I can't help it. And as always, click on this handsome guy right up here to subscribe. Facebook me, Instagram me, check out my IMDb page, all that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. I really appreciate you.
Really a pleasure having you here.
Following up with you. And thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Cheers.
Cool. That was awesome.